Chinese Confucian philosopher, often described as the second sage to reflect his traditional esteem relative to Confucius himself. He was part of Confucius' fourth generation of disciples, inheriting his ideology and developing it further. Living during the Warring States period, he is said to have spent much of his life traveling around the states offering counsel to different rulers. Conversations with these rulers formed the basis of the Mensis, which would later be canonized as a Confucian classic. Iranian religious reformer who challenged the tenets of the contemporary ancient Iranian religion, becoming the spiritual founder of Zoroastrianism. Variously described as a sage or a wonder worker, in the oldest Zoroastrian scriptures, the Gathas, which he is believed to have authored, he is described as a preacher and a poet-prophet. He also had an impact on Heraclitus, Plato, Pythagoras, and the Abrahamic religions, including Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Was Queen of England and Ireland from the 17th of November 1558 until her death in 1603. She was the last and longest reigning monarch of the House of Tudor. Her eventful reign, and its effect on history and culture, gave name to the Elizabethan era. Elizabeth was the only surviving child of Henry VIII and his second wife, Anne Boleyn. When Elizabeth was 2 years old, her parents' marriage was annulled, her mother was executed, and Elizabeth was declared illegitimate. Was King of the Franks from 768, King of the Lombards from 774, and Emperor of what is now known as the Carolingian Empire from 800, holding these titles until his death in 814. He united most of Western and Central Europe, and was the first recognized emperor to rule from the West after the fall of the Western Roman Empire approximately 3 centuries earlier. Charlemagne's reign was marked by political and social changes that had lasting influence on Europe throughout the Middle Ages. Was an ancient Greek poet, who is credited as the author of the Iliad and the Odyssey, 2 epic poems that are foundational works of ancient Greek literature. Homer is considered one of the most revered and influential authors in history. Homer's Iliad centers on a quarrel between King Agamemnon and the warrior Achilles during the last year of the Trojan War. The Odyssey chronicles the 10-year journey of Odysseus, king of Ithaca, back to his home after the fall of Troy. Was the Roman emperor from 527 to 565? His reign was marked by the ambitious but only partly realized Renovatio Imperii, or restoration of the empire. This ambition was expressed by the partial recovery of the territories of the defunct Western Roman Empire. His general, Belisarius, swiftly conquered the Vandal kingdom in North Africa. Was an American businessman and philanthropist. He was one of the wealthiest Americans of all time, and one of the richest people in modern history. Rockefeller was born into a large family in upstate New York, who moved several times before eventually settling in Cleveland, Ohio. Was a Scottish-American industrialist and philanthropist. Carnegie led the expansion of the American steel industry in the late 19th century, and became one of the richest Americans in history. He became a leading philanthropist in the United States, Great Britain, and the British Empire. Was an American business magnate, who built his wealth in railroads and shipping. After working with his father's business, Vanderbilt worked his way into leadership positions in the inland water trade, and invested in the rapidly growing railroad industry, effectively transforming the geography of the United States. was an American financier and investment banker who dominated corporate finance on Wall Street throughout the Gilded Age and Progressive Era. As the head of the banking firm that ultimately became known as J.P. Morgan & Co., he was a driving force behind the wave of industrial consolidations in the United States at the turn of the 20th century.